My husband called me a C in front of our 3-year-old. My husband, 31M, and I, 28F, were arguing about who would put our 3-year-old to bed tonight. We had been out at a friend's house while my mom babysat. My mom put our youngest, 8 months, to bed before we got home. We were home approximately 45 minutes before the 3-year-old was due for a bed. We were both done with the day, tired, ready to do our own thing for the night. I did a couple quick chores and then was on my phone while my husband watched and played with the 3-year-old. We both had asked each other multiple times to put her down at this point. He then sent our daughter over by me and asked me again to do it, and I had said I didn't want to because I'm tired of being the default parent to do it. He then called me a C. I immediately got upset, especially that he would say that in front of our daughter. She was whining and ready for bed, so I just took her up. When I came back down, I confronted him and he refused to apologize. I explained why I wanted him to put her to bed and he did as well. My problem isn't that, but the fact that he called me a name in the first place and in front of our daughter. There was no need for it. Neither of us had been yelling before that. We were just back and forth asking each other to put our daughter to bed and he decided to name call. He refused to apologize and told me to F off and that he doesn't want to talk to me at all, that I was being rude for refusing to put her to bed and being short with him when I knew he had been drinking earlier and was tired, nowhere near drunk for reference. I eventually started crying and gave up and finished my chores and went up to bed. I always without fail, put the baby to bed every night. Unless someone babysitting does obviously, but this is pretty rare. I would say I put the 3-year-old to bed 80 to 90% of the time. I'm the default parent for bed, diapers, getting dressed, making meals for the kids, etc. I clean up everything every day. I work a very stressful 8 to 5 job while my husband works a very flexible job that he can get away with playing video games and watching TV for hours each day. This morning he also told me my thighs are 3x the size of his. I don't know where to go with my relationship anymore. I don't ever feel joy from it. I can't remember the last time he complimented me or made me just feel good. I'm just done. I feel so alone all the time. I don't have any close friends to vent to about this other than my mom and college-aged sister. I'm so overwhelmed being a mom to a 3-year-old and 8-month-old and working my stressful job. I'm not perfect by any means, but I don't deserve this from my relationship. My husband and partner of 11 years called me fat after my sister's baby shower. I, 26F, asked him if I looked okay at my sister's baby shower. I asked him multiple times wanting to know as I wore something out of my comfort zone. I wore a silk skirt and black tank top. I enjoy fashion trends but never liked my body to try anything. But lately I've been trying to branch out despite how I feel about myself. Hoping in a way that if I like the clothes I wear maybe I'd like the way I look. Anyway, after the occasion I drive us home and he was in his usual bad mood after any amount of time he spends with my family. That's a whole different story for another day. I asked him, how did I look? Did I look okay? He replied with, do you want to fight or you want me to say you looked fine? My stomach dropped as I truly wasn't expecting that response. We went back and forth a bit. I didn't raise my voice but knew he wouldn't say that unless he had a different opinion. I finally told him, if I did look okay you wouldn't have said that, so just tell me the truth. Big mistake on my part. He told me, well honey, your arms looked fat and your belly was sticking out. You put on a bit of weight. I was crushed. Absolutely gobsmacked as my entire relationship with this man he never once commented on my weight. I usually wear leggings and big t-shirt or sweatshirts around him, so to hear I didn't look good to him in an outfit I really liked crushed me. I didn't fight back and was silent the whole drive home. I cancelled plans to meet up with my family after the event for dinner as I just couldn't eat after hearing something like that. We got home and he had things he had to do for work and I went and got dressed immediately in workout clothes and went outside for a walk/run until it was too dark. I came back with still not talking to him. I showered and slept in the guest room that night. Now it's the next day and he hasn't spoken to me and has given me short texts while at work, barely acknowledging me. I haven't been able to eat since the encounter. Back in high school, I went through years of an eating disorder. Up until I was out of college I barely ate and exercised immensely. My whole life I struggled with my self-image and my weight. Even as a kid my dad and grandfather would comment on my weight or appearance. It has never been easy for me to lose weight and I've never been very thin. I'm taller and have a curvy body type and it's always been an insecurity of mine. He has never made me feel insecure for 11 years of being with him. When I've asked previously he would say things like you're silly or you're beautiful. I know I've put on weight but for once in my life I wasn't counting calories and eating freely. It was nice while it lasted. Now, I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to get past this feeling of self-hatred. We put our severely autistic child in an institution. 2 years ago we made the decision to put our 18-year-old severely autistic nonverbal child in an institution. I can honestly say it's probably the best thing to ever happen to the family. I was a stay-at-home parent while my spouse worked 10 to 12-hour days to keep a roof over our heads, a food at the table. Living with our child was mostly hell. From the moment they woke up, if they even slept that night, there was never ever a moment of peace, never a quiet easy day. Nothing made them happy, nothing. They were physically abusive towards us and themselves every day. Throwing anything and everything, banging/kicking anything. They would shut the door to their room, lay on the floor in front of it and just kick it for hours and hours and hours. Think running on a door. Sometimes I still feel the way it would vibrate the whole house. Walls would have holes in them, windows broken, they broke 5, doors would need replaced yearly. If you weren't paying attention to them you'd get your hair pulled hard, sometimes drugged to the floor or slapped. One time we all shaved our heads so they wouldn't have anything to grab. And oh boy did that make them more angry. You ever seen a grown 16-year-old have a total meltdown because they couldn't pull your hair? Communication was always a problem, they just refused to learn anything. Not for lack of trying on our end either. The only sign language they took any interest in learning was food. So when you would ask them a question like, do you have to use the restroom? They are still in diapers, or do you need help? They would just sign food, and if you got it wrong, which was all the time, they'd get angry and have a meltdown. The tablet was never an option, it was always just something to throw. They went to school every day with normal school hours until they were 15, then it got switched to Tuesday and Thursday until they were 17. They became too much for that staff to handle. It was really just something to give us some time to breath. To try and get some things done, but it was never enough. I know those poor teachers were afraid of them, and don't blame them. It was the only break we ever got, and we desperately needed it. My favorite time of day was putting them on that school bus in the morning. Then every time I would dread seeing that bus come back up our road in the afternoon. Sometimes I don't think they were happy to see me either. My other older kids were always stressed and worn down. Heads always on a swivel. It made me feel like a shitty parent. I made sure they all got their driver's license as soon as possible so they could escape. Then I found myself becoming increasingly jealous of them because they could leave. I wanted to leave with them every day, anything was better than being home with them. When COVID hit, that's when things really started to take a turn for the worse. We were all stuck in the house with them. We all felt like prisoners in our own home. It was so stressful, clumps of my own hair were falling out. The abuse got worse, and my house was literally falling apart. I had a nervous breakdown and was sent to the hospital for a week. I didn't want to leave, I didn't want to go back home. My other kids slept/stayed at my parents' house while I was there. Leaving my spouse to go it alone. It was an eye-opener for them. I never really told them how bad it was when they weren't there. So after my stay in the hospital we made phone calls, and they were placed in an institution a month later. Where they are thriving. They have 6 people that supervise them constantly, that are just employed for them. Their meds are finally balanced right, they maybe have 1 issue a week. When we visit they are excited to see us, as we them. We take them out to eat, and to parks. They have an excellent life of their own. Communication is still a little iffy, but I believe progress is being made because of those wonderful people. The day we took them to the institution I remember feeling awful for not being upset, for not crying. All I remember feeling was relief and excitement. It took us months to feel some kind of normal, like we forgot how to be human. We got so used to being a doormat all the time we didn't know what to do with ourselves. My older kids started staying home more. I got a part-time job just to get me out of the house a couple days a week. It's nice. So do I have regrets? Yes. Is one of those regrets putting them in an institution? No. My older kids, my spouse and I are finally able to breathe. My 13-year-old son slapped his girlfriend. I'm the mother of a 13-year-old boy. He's my husband and I's oldest. I'm shocked that this happened. He is a typical boy his age, but he's usually been very good. He's never hit me before or his younger sister. He has a girlfriend who is in his grade. She was at our house yesterday. They were in his room, I was downstairs making dinner with my younger child. All of a sudden I heard crying. I went upstairs into his room and I found her clutching her face sobbing. I asked them what happened. My son said that she messed him up on his video game. I asked the little girl what was wrong and she said he slapped me. My son told her to shut up but didn't deny it. I took her downstairs with me, I tried to calm her and gave her a drink and snack. Her mother came to get her. I apologized for my son and said that it's best they stay away from each other. My husband came home from golfing with his friends. I explained to him what had happened. He was not amused and went upstairs to talk to our son. He took his PlayStation away too since it was all over the game. My husband told me he's not a baby anymore, he'll be a man soon, and said he has to learn to control himself and handle his anger, which I agree with. My son was a bit quiet the rest of the evening. Beside that he was himself. He even hugged me after dinner and told me it was so good, "You're the best mom." I just don't understand why my son would do that. I don't want him getting in any trouble. It's concerning to see him lose his temper like that. My boyfriend slapped me during sex and fixed my jaw issue. For 2 months I was out of the country, so that led to my boyfriend and I having to do long distance. Once I landed, my BF picked me up and we went to his place. OFC, the tension was building up, so one thing led to another and blah blah. I like things rough and so does he, and he's been very careful of not being too hard since I have piercings that could potentially get snagged if he slaps me the wrong way. But he just kinda went for it and slapped me really hard. Consensual, I liked it, and right at that moment my jaw hurt like hell. Genuinely was in so much pain. But whatever, we still kept going. Once we were done, I headed over to a mirror to see if my jaw got dislocated cause it hurt like nothing I felt before. I also have pre-existing jaw issues and TMJ, so I'm cautious about my jaw. But to my surprise, my top and bottom row of teeth were perfectly aligned. I've always had my lower jaw shifted to the side and now it magically wasn't. Flash forward to 3 days later. The pain was gone and I yawned really big, and I noticed that my jaw didn't like lock or click since it used to do that. So now I'm genuinely convinced he slapped me so hard to the point he realigned my jaw and fixed whatever jaw issue I had before that. I am now pain-free and able to yawn as big as I want. Saved me some chiropractor money, I guess. Lamau.